You've been told that focusing on yourself is selfish, that taking time to prioritize your goals, your peace, your growth is somehow wrong. But I want to flip that narrative on its head. Focusing on yourself is not selfish. In fact, it's the most generous thing you can do for the people around you and for the life you want to build. Because when you focus on yourself, you show up as someone who is clear, powerful, grounded, and in control of their future. And let me tell you something. There is nothing selfish about that. We live in a world that praises self-sacrifice. We're told to be available all the time, to answer every call, to help everyone else succeed, even if it drains us. But that pattern, it doesn't lead to fulfillment. It leads to burnout. It leads to regret. And most dangerously, it leads to disconnection from yourself. When you constantly put other people's needs ahead of your own, you start to forget what you even wanted in the first place. That's not noble. That's neglect. You have one life, and you are the only person who has to live with your decisions, your discipline, your dreams. No one else is responsible for making sure you succeed. So why in the world would you hand over the steering wheel of your life to someone else's opinion or expectation? You were not born to be a passenger. You were born to be the driver. But here's the truth that most people don't want to say out loud. You don't get in the driver's seat by being passive. You don't build a meaningful, successful life by waiting for someone to give you permission. You build it by choosing yourself over and over again. This is about self-investment, about doing the work internally and externally to become the kind of person who can handle the success you're chasing. That's right, handle it. Because success isn't just about money or recognition. It's about becoming someone who can hold the weight of responsibility, choices, leadership, and consistency. You don't get that by outsourcing your attention to everyone else. You get that by focusing inward and building from the inside out. When you invest in yourself, your mindset, your habits, your skills, you're building a foundation that can't be shaken by other people's opinions. You start to realize that you don't need validation to know you're on the right track. You know it because you've done the work. You know it because you've kept your promises to yourself. You know it because you've sat with discomfort instead of avoiding it. And you came out stronger on the other side. Focusing on yourself teaches you that the world will wait. Your phone can wait. The noise can wait. But your life, your growth, your mission, that cannot wait. And if you don't make it your priority, no one else will. Some people won't get it. That's okay. Let them misunderstand you. Let them say you've changed, because you have. You're choosing to rise above the distractions. You're choosing to put the hours in, to work in silence, to heal, to evolve, and none of that needs an explanation. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to understand yourself so deeply that no amount of noise can pull you off track. You want to succeed in life? Then focus on yourself like your life depends on it, because it does. Your future, your freedom, your fulfillment. These things don't happen by accident. They happen when you get intentional, when you stop chasing other people's approval and start chasing your own potential. There will be moments when it's lonely, when it feels like everyone else is out there socializing, relaxing, coasting, and you're in the gym, at the desk, in the books, building. But let me tell you something, that season of isolation is temporary. The rewards, they're forever. Because when you stay focused on yourself, you become the kind of person who can lead, inspire, and uplift others. Not from a place of burnout, but from overflow. So no, focusing on yourself isn't selfish. You bounce back stronger. So ask yourself, who or what is draining me right now? Where am I leaking energy I could be using to build the life I want? And then do something about it. Have the hard conversation, set the boundary, shut off the phone, get to bed earlier, meditate, move your body. Whatever it is, start today. Because the longer you wait to protect your energy, the longer you delay your growth. You are not here to just survive your day. You are here to thrive, to lead, to create. And that starts with how you manage your energy. So stop giving it away to things that don't matter. Reclaim it, guard it. Use it like the precious resource it is, because when you do, everything changes. Discipline is a form of self-respect. It's not about punishment. It's not about restriction. It's not about grinding yourself into the ground. Discipline is about keeping the promises you make to yourself, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because when you show up for yourself consistently, you're not just building habits, you're building trust in yourself. And that trust becomes the foundation of your confidence. And let me tell you, that matters more than any motivation or moment of inspiration. Discipline isn't about feeling like doing it, it's about doing it anyway. And that mindset changes everything. Most people think discipline is a grind, that it's about saying no to everything fun and yes to everything painful. That's not discipline, that's punishment. Real discipline is actually a gift. It gives you structure, it gives you clarity, it gives you freedom. Because when you're disciplined, you don't waste energy on decision fatigue. You don't second guess yourself every day. You don't negotiate with your excuses. You already decided who you are and what you're about, and your actions reflect that. It's easy to get excited about a goal. It's easy to start something when it's new and shiny, but what happens on day 10, day 30, day 90, when it's no longer exciting, just necessary? That's where discipline comes in. That's the gap between people who dabble and people who succeed. Success isn't built in sprints. It's built in the grind. In the daily, unglamorous moments where you show up even when no one's watching. Especially when no one's watching. Because the truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one's going to drag you out of bed. No one's going to build your dream for you. That's your job. And if you don't respect yourself enough to do the work, you'll always be waiting for a life that never shows up. But when you build discipline, you stop waiting. You start creating. And here's the beautiful part. Discipline is a skill. It's not something you're born with or without. You build it just like a muscle. You start small. You keep your word on the little things. Wake up when you say you will. Finish what you start. Stick to the plan even when you're tired. Every time you do, you're telling yourself, I can count on me. And when you believe that, there's nothing you can't take on. Discipline also sets the tone for how others treat you. When people see you holding a high standard for yourself, they learn how to interact with you. They see you as someone who means business. Someone who can be counted on, someone who doesn't make excuses. And that changes your relationships, it changes your opportunities, it changes your life. But let's be honest, there are going to be days when you don't feel like it. Days when you want to quit, when everything in you is screaming for comfort. That's when you remind yourself why you started. You don't let your feelings make the decision, your commitment does. That's the difference between amateurs and pros. Amateurs work when it's convenient. Pros work because it's necessary. What kind of life do you want to wake up to? What kind of work lights you up? What kind of person do you want to be? Until you answer those questions, you'll keep drifting. You'll keep scrolling. You'll keep comparing and staying stuck. Clarity kills comparison. Loftil low. When you know what you're working toward, you're less likely to be thrown off course by someone else's success. You can celebrate them and stay focused on yourself. That's real maturity. That's real growth. Because it means you're no longer competing, you're creating. And the truth is, the world doesn't need another version of someone else. It needs you, fully expressed, fully committed, fully focused. And when you do feel the comparison creeping in, and you will, pause and bring the focus back to yourself. Ask, what do I want? What am I building? What's the next step I can take today? That's how you regain control. That's how you protect your direction. No one gets to define success for you. No one gets to determine your pace. The only race you're running is the one with yesterday's version of you. That's the person you should be trying to beat. That's the only comparison that actually matters. So the next time you catch yourself watching someone else's life like a movie, remember that you've got your own story to write, and it's not going to get written while you're busy reading someone else's script. Your direction is sacred. Protect it. Focus on it. Trust it. Because the more you do, the more powerful, aligned, and unstoppable you become. The truth is, you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't keep giving your energy to the world, to your work, to your relationships, without stopping to refill yourself. And yet, so many people do exactly that. They push and push and push until they're drained, bitter, burnt out, and wondering why nothing feels good anymore. It's because they forgot one of the most important rules of growth. Rest is not a weakness. Rest is a requirement. We live in a world that glorifies hustle. We're taught to measure our worth by how busy we are, how productive we seem, how much we sacrifice. But productivity without purpose is just burnout in disguise. You don't become successful by running yourself into the ground. You become successful by knowing when to push and when to pause. That pause, that rest, that space to breathe. That's where clarity lives. That's where creativity gets recharged. That's where your strength resets. Rest doesn't just mean sleep, though that's a huge part of it. Rest means taking time to reconnect with yourself. It means turning off the noise, putting down your phone, and checking in with how you actually feel. Are you inspired or just exhausted? Are you aligned with your goals or just reacting to the pressure around you? Those answers don't come when you're constantly distracted. They come when you slow down long enough to listen. And yes, at first, rest can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're used to tying your value to your productivity. You might feel guilty for not doing something. You might feel anxious when you're not constantly on. That's normal. But it's also a sign that you need rest even more, because your worth is not measured by your output. Your worth is inherent. And the more you believe that, the more powerful your actions become, not out of desperation, but out of intention. When you prioritize rest, you're not stepping away from your goals, you're strengthening your ability to reach them. Think about athletes. They train hard, but they also recover. They understand that without recovery, their performance suffers. The same applies to your mind, your creativity, your energy. If you never allow yourself to reset, you'll never operate at your full potential. You'll just be running on adrenaline and burnout, mistaking speed for progress. Rest also gives you perspective. When you're constantly grinding, it's easy to get stuck in the weeds, to focus so much on the to-do list that you forget why you started in the first place. Rest helps you zoom out. It reminds you of the bigger picture. It lets you reconnect with your vision, your values, your why. And when you return to your work, your relationships, your mission, you do it with more clarity, more intention, and more power. But you have to give yourself permission to rest. You have to recognize that rest is not a luxury, it's a leadership skill. It takes strength to say, I need a break. It takes courage to stop when the world is telling you to go. But the strongest people I know are the ones who know how to protect their energy, guard their peace, and recover with purpose. Because they understand that a rested mind makes better decisions. A rested heart connects more deeply. A rested body performs with more power. So, what does rest look like for you? Maybe it's a walk in nature. Maybe it's journaling in silence. Maybe it's a weekend without social media, a night of deep sleep, or time spent doing something just because you love it, not because it's productive. Whatever it is, make it non-negotiable, because if you wait until you're burnt out to rest, you've waited too long. You are not a machine. You're a human being. And the more you honor that, honor your limits, your rhythms, your need for space, the more sustainable your success becomes. And the goal isn't just to achieve more. The goal is to live fully, to build a life that feels good on the inside, not just looks good on the outside. So rest, not because you're lazy, not because you're giving up, but because you're smart enough to know that rest is part of the process. Part of the process, it's not a break from growth, it's a part of growth. And the more you embrace that, the stronger, clearer, and more unstoppable you become. Your circle matters more than you realize. The people you surround yourself with are either feeding your growth or quietly holding you back. They're either challenging you to rise higher or making you feel like you have to shrink to stay accepted. And if you're serious about success, real lasting success, you need to start auditing who has access to you, because not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Energy is contagious. Whether you believe it or not, the people closest to you are influencing how you think, how you speak, how you act. You start adopting their habits, echoing their beliefs, even mirroring their limitations. It happens subtly over time. That friend who constantly complains and blames everyone else for their problems, eventually you start thinking the same way. That family member who makes fun of your goals or tells you to be realistic, slowly, their doubt becomes yours. You start playing small, not because you lack potential, but because the people around you make playing small feel safer. But here's the truth. Safety isn't the same as growth. Comfort zones feel nice, but nothing great is built there. Growth requires friction. It requires people who challenge you, stretch you, push you to be better. It requires friends who remind you who you are when you forget. mentors who call you out when you're slacking, partners who believe in your vision even when you're full of doubt. That kind of support doesn't just happen. You have to choose it. You have to create it. And that starts with boundaries. You need to get comfortable saying no to energy that drags you down. That might mean distancing yourself from people you've known for years. It might mean walking away from conversations that are always negative, toxic, or draining. That's not being cold. That's being clear. Your energy is too valuable to spend it on relationships that don't serve your future. You don't owe anyone access to you just because they've been around a long time. Longevity isn't loyalty. Alignment is. The people in your life should reflect where you're headed, not just where you've been. If you're the most driven, most positive, most focused person in your group, it's time to level up your circle. Find people who make you want to rise. People who are doing things that scare you in the best way. People who have already walked the path you're trying to walk. Success leaves clues, and sometimes it leaves them in the form of other people. It's also important to remember that you can outgrow people, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you don't care about them. It just means your paths are no longer aligned. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to change. And you're allowed to protect your peace while you do it. In fact, you must. Because your future is shaped by your environment, and your environment is shaped by the people you allow into it. You need people who speak life into your goals, people who celebrate your wins and challenge your excuses, people who see your potential, even when you don't. Those are the people you build with. Those are the voices you listen to. Not the ones who gossip, complain, or belittle others. Not the ones who project their fears onto your dreams. You don't need a crowd. You need a crew. Even just a few aligned people can change the entire direction of your life. So take a moment and ask yourself, who is in my circle right now? Who am I spending time with, listening to, learning from? Are they helping me grow, or are they keeping me stuck? Be honest, because the quality of your life is directly linked to the quality of your relationships. And the more intentional you are with your circle, the more powerful, focused, and supported you'll become. You are not meant to do this alone, but you're also not meant to carry people who refuse to grow. Build a circle that reflects your values. Surround yourself with people who make you feel energized, not drained, who challenge you to think bigger, not settle for less, who clap when you win and push you when you stall. Because in the end, your environment is either your engine or your anchor. Choose wisely. Your success depends on it. When you start focusing on yourself, really focusing not out of ego, but out of purpose, you realize just how much of your life has been shaped by trying to prove something to other people. You start seeing how many decisions you made just to be liked, to be accepted, to keep the peace, or to gain approval. And the moment you decide to break free from that need for validation, your entire life begins to shift. Because the truth is, you don't owe anyone an explanation for wanting better for yourself. This is your life, your one shot. And if you spend it trying to meet everyone else's expectations, you'll wake up one day realizing you built a life that isn't even yours. You chased goals that didn't fulfill you. You stayed in places that didn't serve you. You silenced your voice to avoid being judged. And you gave pieces of yourself away to keep people comfortable who were never going to understand your vision anyway. Validation feels good in the moment. It's a hit of dopamine when someone agrees with your choices, praises your progress, or claps for your success. But if you depend on it, you'll never feel secure. Because the moment that applause fades, or worse, turns into criticism, you'll start doubting everything you're doing. That's the trap. That's the cycle. And the only way to break it is to build your sense of worth from the inside out. You have to believe in your goals even when no one else does. You have to keep going even when no one is watching. You have to trust your gut, your vision, your calling, especially when people don't understand it. Because they're not supposed to. It's your vision. It was given to you, not them. And if you keep waiting for the world to get on board before you take action, you'll never leave the station. Here's the truth. Not everyone will support you. Not everyone will understand why you're changing, why you're setting boundaries, why you're choosing a different path. Some people will feel threatened by your growth. Some will project their fears onto you. Some will try to keep you small, not because they're evil, but because your courage reminds them of everything they've been avoiding. That's not your problem. Your job is not to make them comfortable. It's to stay aligned with what's true for you. There's freedom in letting go of the need to be understood. There's power in saying, this is what I want. This is who I'm becoming. And I don't need anyone's permission to go after it. That kind of confidence can't be given to you. It has to be built. Brick by brick, day by day, by choosing to back yourself, to show up for yourself, to keep going even when it's lonely or uncertain. You don't need a cheer squad to be consistent. You don't need every friend or family member to clap for you. You need you. You need that fire inside that says, I'm doing this because I can't not do it, because this is who I'm meant to be. That's where real success starts, not with a crowd, but with commitment. The more you detach from the need for approval, the more space you create for authenticity, and authenticity is magnetic. When you're fully you, without filters or facades, the right people find you, the right opportunities align, the right energy flows. But that only happens when you stop performing and start living. For you, not for them. So stop asking, what will they think? And start asking, what do I think? What do I want? Who do I want to become? That shift in focus is everything. That's where your power is. That's how you reclaim your voice, your direction, your life. You're not here to fit in. You're here to rise. You're here to break patterns, to chase purpose, to rewrite the story. And that requires courage. Courage to disappoint some people in order to stay true to yourself. Courage to be misunderstood, to walk alone at times, to risk being judged. But what's the alternative? A life half-lived, full of regrets, shaped by everyone else's expectations? No, you were made for more than that. So stand tall, choose yourself, back your vision, even if no one else claps for it. Because the moment you stop needing validation from others is the moment you become truly unstoppable.